Also, I've just noticed that Lumera has become a silver card due to her experiences with the Star Souls. Today, you face the most common, difficult, and urgent task of the Sultan's cabinet. The Sultan will approach demanding money. You can say no to the Sultan. You don't even want to inquire what the Sultan uses the money for, knowing it would only swell your troubles. We've handed over a bunch of the state's money to the Sultan. Frankly, what else were we going to do? He's the Sultan. Zaki sat there silently, like a drenched chick, looking somewhat despondent. He was in urgent need of someone to help and guide him, yet the mother he once trusted most was now mired in deep suspicion. Should you summon Fortuna to confront him? Let Maggie confront Zaki. Always had a way. He briefly explained the situation to Maggie, and Zaki presented the evidence to her. Your wife looked at the letters in astonishment for a long time before sighing. I understand her. Sympathy and compassion appeared in her eyes. Maybe what she did was wrong, but I understand her. She's a woman, a mother. What else could she do to protect herself and you? You knew, and you explained to the young man, that if his mother hadn't acted, his father would have made the child outside the heir. The father would then slowly empty the mother's property and take away his future, bit by bit. None of this could be stopped unless one party died. Zaki listened blankly, his clenched fists slowly unclenching. How could this be? Was his family broken because of him? What had he done wrong? The young man's eyes filled with tears and he helplessly covered his face. But what should I do? I can't blame her, but I can't forgive her. If you give me a knife, I'll do it. If you ask me to forgive, I will listen to you. Which is right and which is wrong? I really do not know. Maggie gently patted his back, softly comforting him. Child's tearful confessions slowly exhausted themselves into quietness. Maggie wiped the tears from his sleeping face and sighed. Poor child. Let him sleep well for a while. Mahir's experiments and creations require Aether. The purest order believes all Aether in the world is sacred, which of course means they have plenty. And we're going to do a lot of rolls. The purest order's Aether is stored in a vault beside their temple. No one knows its interior structure. You'll have to improvise. Raj loitered around the vault for hours, finally discovering the shift change pattern. The vault guards wear bright silver armor, sufficiently ornate but not very flexible. Duke will delay or neutralize these iron turtles during patrol, allowing others to slip inside. The door's left side shows a pure white figure rendered in diamond powder, the Immaculate Purity's common image. The right shows water rendered in sapphire powder. The deity's first action upon Earth is drinking the aether prepared by followers. Despite the door's elaborate artwork, Mahir and Lumera opened it with just 2 wires and a magnet. Inside really is a sapphire-like pool, all aether. Countless golden pipes fill the room. According to Mahir, the Purest Order spent years concentrating this pure magical essence from the followers' daily prayers. She's tempted to dive in, but dares only fill a special bottle with a small amount. You have Zaki fabricate a scandal involving the true faith, effectively covering your criminal and violent traces. The divine door remains locked, with no one wishing to open it. We've received a new bottle of Aether. Case has found you to report the results of the previous case. Once again, we've been visited by the mysterious assisting stranger. This time, we've sent Zaki to her. The next day, Zaki came to your house, telling you had a strange dream. Details are unclear, but it was a pleasant, auspicious dream. It was about you. He's become a little more sociable, and a little stronger in his physique. Case visits you again, seemingly eager to confide in you. He has arrested the true culprit, reuniting the man with his child. Through the investigation, he acknowledges his narrow-mindedness and believes that you're still the same, upright and kind-hearted. Even though you're a player in the Sultan's game, he trusts that you will use your position for good rather than harm. Thus, he is willing to serve you with his devotion. He admits to you that he cannot respect his Sultan at all, only fear. You smile and assure him of how similarly you feel. I used my fear of the Sultan to reveal to him that we were not the Sultan's biggest fan. He's become quite the supporter, and he's joined our team permanently. I've learned a little forbidden knowledge. In the face of the vast universe, even the greatest wise man is nothing more than a small apprentice. The mayor has learned some exercise techniques. One more skill means a greater chance of survival. Raj has learned how to work a spear. Woo. The Sultan has returned to his loyal palace, and a messenger has come to my door with news from afar. A well-traveled courier knocks on your door. You paid the courier. You recognize Minar's handwriting on the envelope. In her letter, she says she has found a safe haven, far from the Sultan's rule, with lush vegetation and mild climate. The ruler there is wise and kind, the people prosperous and friendly. The envelope contains a map detailing the route to that paradise, along with necessary instructions and annotations. You know that if you tire of this game, if you decide to leave, this will be your final way out. Keep it safe, away from the Sultan's eyes. I've learnt that China exists, and I now have somewhere to escape to. Minar has found a paradise far beyond the Sultan's control. It is powerful, wealthy, and peaceful. For the first time in a long while, she saw genuine smiles on people's faces. If you wish to escape the Sultan's game for good, this is your best choice. Your neighbor, a scholar, complained your feast was too noisy, interrupting his creative flow and preventing him from finishing his greatest work. Then cancel the feast, ask him to move, ignore him, or make all the more noise to deafen him. You know what? It's a hard life. It will give him a night off. What could be more important in this world than academic research? It's just a few paused feasts after all, nothing major. However, people quickly got used to no longer gathering under your roof. I've lost an influence. Boo. And we've read Ambiguities, the book Asal has brought us. The words in this book cannot be read with ordinary eyes. Slowly they draw you into a frenzied dream. When you awaken, you find yourself in a remote, desolate corner with no memory of how you arrived. The book is still clutched tightly in your hands, but the words have vanished, as if they slipped from your eyes straight into your soul. You feel exhausted and strangely exhilarated, the uncanny experience reminding you of Asal's peculiar parting words. Find Asal in the bookstore. Asal receives you in the chamber, listening intently as you recount the entire ordeal. He nods, shakes his head, and even takes notes, as if confronting a complex academic problem rather than a mere personal matter. Finally, he closes his notebook and promises he will find a way to help. The spark of curiosity and excitement in his eyes outweighs any concern for your well-being, but you're too weary to care. I'm tired, I've gotten better at magic, I've become more charismatic, and I no longer have ambiguities. Ace has also read a book about wrestling. He's now a little better at fighting and a little stronger. You overheard a noble in the bathhouse complaining, intentionally or not, about how his house outside the city has been occupied by a group of cunning vagrants. The steamy mist makes everyone laugh, dismissing it as a joke, because everyone knows that if he were willing to spend some money to hire a few mercenaries, the problem could easily be solved. He hasn't done that. Perhaps he knows that you have been chosen by the Sultan, and you are the one in this city who most likes, or rather needs, to meddle in other people's business. We arrive at the location of the house. Vagrants occupying the place are emaciated, in ragged clothes and armed with crude weapons. They don't seem difficult to deal with. After half a day of observation, you also notice that the group of vagrants is not completely disorganized. They vaguely have one leader. Perhaps, besides violence, try other methods. We successfully persuaded the mob, using your silver tongue to both threaten them with dire outcome of occupying a noble's mansion, and promise benefits if they left on their own accord. The untraveled, starving mob are shattered by your words, murmuring hesitantly. You take advantage of their lapse in vigilance to capture the leader, sending the vagrants scattering headless. The noble, overjoyed, showered you with endless gratitudes over and over again. You stop him just as you're about to hurry into his house. With sudden realization, he slaps his forehead and offers you some coin as a reward. Become a little more infamous. We've imprisoned Raid, who is the leader of bandits. And with Lemaire and I have become a little more sociable. The very day you read the peculiar tome, whispers reach your ears. Someone in the slums spotted a certain high-ranking lord. You, wandering the streets alone late at night, trailed by 3 or 4 dark, shapeless figures. You remember nothing of it, and Asal is of little help. Perhaps it falls to you to investigate those shadows, or rather discover what they truly are. Zaki finds hints of the truth. He succeeds. After speaking with the witnesses, he notices the same pattern. Each shadow appears differently to each person, yet each mirrors their greatest fear. It brings to mind the otherworldly creatures from the book, who seem to play with human minds. Perhaps these two mysteries are somehow linked. He's become a little wiser, and we've received an omen. As the Sultan conquered again and again, what returned to the capital was not only the mighty king's army with its lavish trophies, but also the veterans with missing arms, broken legs, blinded and disfigured eyes. Most are free men, with meritorious service, unable to be easily expelled, but also incapable of making a proper living. Now it seems their number has grown large enough to affect the capital's security. This report suggests that we should allocate a budget to settle these old soldiers. It's quite a sum of money. They will remember my help. Though those old soldiers have little clout, they still have friends in the army. Soldiers will notice who helped them, who acknowledge their merits. The money doesn't come directly from me for now anyway. What am I saying for now? We've gotten the army's approval, at the cost of some budget deficit. We've become a little more influential. Some so-called champions of justice have decided to challenge you. I've become renowned enough that certain acts I've undertaken in the name of the Sultan's game have earned the ire of both ne'er-do-wells and would-be heroes. This unfortunately means that people are going to come to my estate to attempt to take my life. Luckily, it also gives us an easy out for bloodshed cards. Barrage 1, knocking the challenger to the ground. I'm a little more influential. Challenger's head was cut off. You broke the bloodshed card in your hand, and for a while no one dared challenge you anymore. A little more infamous. You've broken another bloodshed card. The Mera has won a horse race. Now, everyone says the Sultan card freed your nature, allowing you to do what you love most, assaulting women, bloodshed. What others think doesn't matter much, but what about Maggie's thoughts? You try to comfort your wife. It's important that you care about her attitude. Of course, you understand Maggie's worries. At the dressing table, you embrace her from behind, soaking in the scent of her long hair, sharing your inner struggles. Perhaps these flowery words were not entirely sincere, but Maggie felt what she needed most, your need and respect for her. She turns to rub her nose and cheek against your face, telling you she will walk with you no matter what path you choose. I've woken again in an unfamiliar place. A midnight banquet has appeared. We must draw another card. Bronze carnality. Perfectly suited for my wife. The Sultan, in a whimsical mood, asks you to judge the most beautiful woman in his harem. I can say the woman who's been with him the longest, the woman who's been with him the shortest, or whoever he picks next. You're the woman that's been with him the longest. They're likely his favorite. I say this because the woman who has been with him the longest often holds more power and is harder to offend. Hearing your answer, the Sultan bursts into laughter, tells a string of dirty jokes, and dismissively waves you away like a dog. Although you didn't win his favor, at least you didn't make an enemy, which makes it a good day. Sleepwalking again? Where am I? You wake once more in an unfamiliar place. This time you're in a crumbling, empty house. The night wind cuts through the walls like ice. Try to hold yourself for warmth, only to discover your hands are slick with blood. Hard lurches. You sit up fast, trying to see more clearly. Then you do. On the half-collapsed brick wall before you, someone has scrawled a message in blood. How delightful. Let's meet again next time. I've gained one insight. Who the hell is doing this? It has to be tied to that cursed book. You wipe the blood off in a hurry and kick open the door to the bookshop. Inside, Asal is buried in a stack of ancient tomes. He looks genuinely startled at your disheveled state. He soothes you while deep in thought. From what I've heard, and what I've uncovered these past few days, this is a ritual called the Midnight Banquet. It's a summoning enacted through reading, led by a reader of immense spiritual power. Their thoughts form the passage through which something not of our world squeezes into ours. He shakes his head, then lifts his hand in apology. It's my failing. I should never have let you be dragged into this. My remorse is like frost on winter leaves. You cut off his poetic metaphors and demand the important part. How do you stop the ritual? According to the tome, well, in short, the banquet concludes on the third gathering. By then, the Lord of Revels is chosen, usually the strongest entity from beyond, and it takes the summoner's body as its vessel, crossing fully into our world. You almost laugh from anger. 2 gatherings already, all because of his cursed book. Now what are you supposed to do? I need time to research. If you'll permit me. Of course you do. Skip to the point. Alright. The point is, I'll need help. The next banquet should be in a few days. If you can find a capable ally, I can prepare a weapon to face the Lord of Revels, and I'll be there in person to assist you. His promise feels off somehow. At this point, you have little choice but to accept. Oh, Lumera's read, blatantly smut, and had some impure thoughts. A lion, banished by its pride, approaches a human city during the dry season, desperate for food. Initially, it preyed on livestock, but later, it attacked shepherds, killing them swiftly. Once a beast has tasted the sweet and fragile human flesh, it becomes unstoppable. You must stop it now, or someday you will become its prey. Hunting a lion requires more than just bravado. You had better be well prepared. Traps, bait, or stronger weapons. You'll need anything that can give you the slightest edge, and pray for good luck. The lion cautiously circles around, eventually succumbing to the temptation of the sheep stepping into your trap. Its paws and stomach are pierced by sharp wooden spikes, its fur soaked in blood. It roars loudly, trying to escape. You force it back with your spear. This is a battle of strength and endurance. You cannot afford a moment of laxity. Finally, the lion exhausts its last bit of strength and collapses with a whimper. After assuring it is truly dead, you drag its body out of the trap. Conquering a lion is the ultimate symbol of a warrior's glory. As you wearily carry the lion's bloodied head through the long street, everyone remembers the hero's name. Gained renown, and Faraj and I have both become a little better at combat. I'd hoped to save this lion until we could use a conquest or bloodshed card on it. But unfortunately, it was becoming a problem and starting to kill shepherds. Your neighbor, the scholar, finally finished his masterpiece. If you remember, we cancelled feasts so that he could work. He gives you a copy of the manuscript and thanks you for your tolerance. He left your name in the preface of the book, made you a little more famous in the academic world, and I've gained the Book of Enlightenment. A river that flowed through the territories of 2 nobles suddenly changed its course recently. Now it flows through one noble's lands, but hardly through the others. The latter presented this matter to the Sultan, requesting an adjustment of their land's borders. He's willing to cede a larger piece of land in exchange for the area where the river flows. The Sultan asked what you think about this matter. We can respect the river's will. We can say that people without the river are very pitiful, presumably meaning that we think he should get some of the river. We can leave everything to a duel. Let's support the man who's lost his livelihood when the river changed. You trade double the land for a piece of land with the river running through it, thinking this is fair. After all, how can people survive on land without a river? You force both parties to sign a fair agreement, and promise to personally oversee its implementation, finally calming things down. The noble is very grateful to you, but his opponent is spreading slander about you. I've lost an influence, but gained a renown. Case has gained a little wisdom, and I've gained a little stealth. Stranger rumors are sure to spread through the dark alley. You've unknowingly done some terrifying deeds. It's best to send someone to investigate discreetly. Zaki tries to figure out what's going on. Zaki succeeded. Rumors spread like wildfire through the dark alley. Some claim they've seen a strange figure, perhaps not even human, prowling the streets at night, gnawing on the corpse of a starved beggar. Gigantic shadows loiter nearby, laughing, urging him on. Zaki questions several of the witnesses, and even goes to inspect the beggar's mutilated body. In the end, with a shrug and a silver tongue, He manages to convince them that the story is nothing more than a wild rumor, that the desecration was actually the work of wild dogs. Turning from the alley, Zaki even gives you a detailed lesson on how to disguise human bite marks as dog bites, for reasons you'd rather not ask about.